this video, we're going to explain what kind of evidence the external auditor needs to see when they come to your site. Hi, I'm Andrew Thornhill. I'm the Director at IRM Systems, where we've got many decades of experience assisting organisations develop management systems right through to certification. Keep watching towards the end. I'll give you my 2 key strategies, things you really need to make sure you, as an organisation, you've done prior to having your external audit. So number 1, yes, when an auditor comes to your site, their role and what they're trying to achieve is they need to audit your organisation against obviously the different requirements in the standard. If that's a stage 2 certification audit, they'll audit you against each and every requirement in the particular standard you are seeking certification to. And they're going to audit you against the standard, but also the related processes and procedures you have in your management system, safety management system, for example, that are a part of your management system. Now, when auditors, their role when they're conducting it to determine conformance against the requirement of the standard, they need to seek out objective evidence, and essentially that means reproducible factual kind of evidence, not just hearsay and anecdotes, but reproducible factual evidence. And we'll talk about the types, the key sources of objective evidence shortly. So yes, one thing to bear in mind when an external auditor comes to site too, they're always taking a sampling approach. Concrete example, if we're saying we have a safety induction to make people aware of our safety system, if we've got 120 people on site, they generally don't have time to look at each and every record or interview each and every staff member who's been through the induction. They'll tend to take, by sample, a subset of those records and interview a subset of those staff is what we mean. But the 3 key types of sources of objective evidence auditors will be looking for, and we'll talk about how you can approach this from your organisation's perspective. So number 1, they need to interview people. So interview people involved in the particular work activity that might form part of the audit. And that's simply, they're going to ask a series of questions, open questions, some more closed questions where they're focusing in for particular detail. In that kind of situation, yes, they're talking to people who've got a lot of expertise in the process, so it's appropriate that your employees can really tell them anything they need to know about the process. Second form of evidence that auditors need to see is they need to make observations. So again, they may seek to observe certain work practices in place, and you can simply direct them out to where they need to go, whether it's part of the production department or another team where they can go and observe that activity happening. Third key source of evidence, and these types of evidence tell auditors different things, but it's obviously records. Now, if we think about the requirements of the standard or in our management system, records aren't required for absolutely everything, but where they are, yes, auditors will tend to ask for a sample of available records as per our safety induction example. From an auditor's perspective, the records are a key source of objective evidence because they are reproducible and they're clearly factual, as well as records give auditors an insight into the history. They can observe today, they can interview people to try and determine some awareness, but it's very hard to observe what happened last week or a month ago, things like that. Quality procedures is a second example. If we say we do an incoming inspection on our raw materials, an auditor could go out and observe that happening today, ask some questions, interview people, but records are, if that's a really critical control measure, they'll need to see some records to see that that's happening consistently over time. A couple of our key recommendations that we touched on at the start of this session is, so number 1 is to do a full internal audit of your management system. If that's a food safety or whatever management system it is, do a full audit of your system against both the standard and your own procedures prior to the external audit. A full audit against the standard is something you need to do. The standards say you need to do that anyway, but from an organisational perspective, use it as a tool to identify any gaps you might have, turn that into an action plan and make sure all those issues, raise them in your improvement or corrective action system and start taking action on them prior to the external audit. Second tip there when you're doing that audit is really focus in on, and it's often the low-hanging fruit for the external auditors, they know this before they get there, is anywhere in your procedures or processes where we've said, we've made certain commitments to do things on a recurrent basis. We've said we're going to calibrate our water quality probes once a quarter, or we're going to do monthly site inspections, whatever the case, all those kind of recurrent events, you need to understand what they are, because in your audit, you just want to do a double check that are they actually being routinely completed, because as soon as an auditor sees in a procedure, oh, these guys are saying they're going to do something, calibrate these water quality probes 4 times a year, then they will expect to see records, and they will be looking that has it actually occurred 4 times a year. As we mentioned at the start, a couple of key bonus strategies, things and really top tips around managing the audit situation. Number one is, from your organisation's perspective, when the audit body contacts you, ask to internally have a main contact person within your organisation. So whether you're the system manager or compliance manager, it doesn't matter. But with our auditor, we can say, number one, give them an overview right at the start, high level, take them through our system, here's where our evidence is, and even some of those terminology issues. If the standard is calling something corrective action, we've called it improvement, just take that time, 15 minutes at the start, to really orient the auditor, pointing them to where the evidence they'll need to see actually is within our system. A second critical point for having a contact person is to say to the auditor, if there's any potential non-conformances, can you come and talk to me before you debrief or before you finalise that finding? Because not uncommon that the auditor's worked with a particular team, production or operations, they suspect there's a non-conformance, but that evidence actually does exist elsewhere. If we think about, I mentioned safety inductions earlier, the auditor's audited me, the operations manager, and I don't have any records. It doesn't actually mean safety inductions haven't occurred. By establishing that protocol that the auditor comes and speaks to the main contact person where they suspect there's a potential non-conformance, we can then direct them to where that evidence is held, perhaps over with the HR manager elsewhere. Thanks for watching. We really hope you're enjoying our series. If you are, time to subscribe. We've got a whole range of videos that'll help you through your journey to certification.